Hello, Just to Film here. I'm back. Of course, the hair is more poofy than ever before. But today, we're talking about Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which just released. And my gosh, this is another fantastic animated movie that has just released. I mean, I like this way better than the Mario movie, which was a lot of references with no substance. This is a lot of references with substance. First off, the animation has somehow improved from the first film, which the first film had incredible, revolutionary animation and art style choices that kind of shook up the animation industry, where you see a lot of clones now, whether it be Mitchell's vs. Machines. The new Turtles movie looks like it has that similar animation style. This time, they mix even more different animation styles, and it comes off so purposeful, but I also just like the overall look of even the central animation style that they stick with. It just looks more fluid. It uses color in a lot more purposeful ways than the first one, and I really adore it. So not only is the animation great, but once again, we have some strong writing with some great lead characters that make the emotional beats work very well. I also adore the voice work, where they get some cool voice actors doing some actual performances. They're not just playing themselves. The returning voices for Miles and Gwen, which were fantastic performances in the first film, are also retained, but I also really like the voice performances of Miles' parents in this film. Like, I felt it a little bit more in this film than in the last film. And then there's some great new characters. In particular, I really like the voice role that Jason Schwartzman provides, but maybe I'm just a Jason Schwartzman fan. Now, this film isn't perfect. I kind of have a weird problem with it, that maybe it was just my theater, but the sound mixing is very odd. Sometimes the score, which is actually a good score, I like the score definitely as the film progresses more than when it starts out, or it comes off a little bit generic when it starts out, but there's some great score tracks later on in the film. But consistently, in a noticeable way, the voice mixing with the actual score was off. Like, it was kind of hard to hear the voices at some points. And again, maybe it's just my theater, but that was a little bit of a weird and slightly annoying problem. I also think that there are some parts where the pacing is so ridiculously fast, you kind of have to take a breather, and I wish the film took a little bit more of a breather at points, but it's not as ridiculous as some other films that have a fast pacing issue, where it's just like Mario movie had a much more faster pacing, and it just felt like there was no time to breathe. But then again, there was no substance in there. All right, I'll stop dissing the Mario movie. And then just a little problem with it. With the writing, there's a plot beat in the second half that I'm kind of like, this doesn't already make sense. But I do like what they do with it. But I was just like, this conflict feels a little bit forced when you already had another conflict that made more sense. But there are multiple conflicts in the movie, and most of them make sense. It's just this one where I'm like, that doesn't really make sense, because there's a lot of parts that contradict this in this universe already, but who knows. Regardless, this is so much fun, and there's some great cameos for those who like a lot of things I like. And I'll give this a 7 out of 10. A very strong 7 out of 10. I'm looking forward to rewatching this. So that's it for Spider-Verse non-spoilers. If you have not seen the movie, click off this video. But you want to talk about spoilers? Okay, we'll talk about spoilers. So, okay, you haven't seen the movie, click off. Okay, the Lego cameo, that was awesome. Of course, I'm like, that's not the same Daily Bugle that we got last year. Was it last? No, 2 years ago at this point. But I want that as another Daily Bugle. I could take another Daily Bugle, and seeing J. Jonah Jameson with the Ninjago movie Zane here. I'm like, heck yeah. I wanted more of the Lego cameo. I know it was like a fun one-off joke, but I do feel like, they're not in the council of all the spider people. Like, come on. So that was awesome. And then with the council of Spider-Man, there's just like, okay, so much. There was references that flew over my head, because I mean, I casually like Spider-Man, I'm more familiar with the movies, but it was cool seeing Donald Glover as like the Prowler. That's like this mega fan cast. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I was like, is that like a Spider-Man like Atari reference or something like that, like at one point? So that was all cool. The plot beat that kind of annoyed me was how they have this whole thing where like, oh, you gotta follow the canon, and I'm like, Well, there has been other Spider-Man properties that haven't followed the canon that you include in this universe, right? Am I wrong in that, where, like, you say the Raimi-verse hasn't followed that, I mean, yeah, it hasn't followed the death of the police commissioner plot beat, or am I wrong there? Or am I wrong there? Is that like a substitute for like Green Goblin dying? I don't know. So that felt a little bit like they're forcing in this conflict when they already have this really cool conflict with Jason Schwartzman's character, which I keep getting the name wrong. I think it's Spot or something like that. But at the end, like, you have evil Miles, which a little bit tropey. It's like, okay, it's the evil version, but I that was unexpected, and I did like where that went, where it's like, okay, that does kind of make sense because you know, that radioactive spider that bit him wasn't from that universe, and so in that universe there's not a Spider-Man, so now Prowler is Miles. Like, that's kind of cool, so I want to see where that goes. I knew it was a two-parter when I went in, but I was still like, the whole movie, where are they going to end this? Because it has to be on a cliffhanger. And I was really satisfied because I thought they were going to end it at like the whole train battle with the Spider Council, but there's like another 40 minutes after that, and they have some of the strongest moments between his parents there. So yeah, really dug this movie. If you're going to talk spoilers in the comments, say spoilers and then do some spaces so that people who haven't seen this movie can not be spoiled, okay? But anyways, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Subscribe here because Just Do Film is back, and I'll see you later. Peace out. Bye.